Hello, I'm Dr. Joseph Butler. I've spent my career caring for older adults across the United States, and today I want to talk to you about something that rarely shows up on blood tests, never appears on an X-ray, and is almost never listed as a diagnosis. Yet it may be one of the most dangerous health risks after the age of 65. Loneliness. Not sadness. Not solitude by choice, but chronic loneliness, the persistent feeling of being disconnected, unseen, or unnecessary. And here is the truth that shocks many people when they hear it. Long-term loneliness can be more harmful to your health than smoking, obesity, or physical inactivity. That may sound dramatic, but it is supported by decades of scientific research. For years, medicine focused almost exclusively on physical risk factors: blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, smoking status. But over time, researchers began noticing something unsettling. Some older adults with perfect numbers were declining rapidly, while others with less than perfect labs were thriving. The difference wasn't just genetics. Large-scale studies from institutions like Harvard, the National Academies of Sciences, and the American Psychological Association have consistently shown that social isolation and loneliness are associated with increased risk of heart disease, stroke, dementia, depression, weakened immunity, and early death. One landmark meta-analysis published in the journal Perspectives on Psychological Science examined data from more than 300,000 individuals. It found that loneliness increased the risk of early mortality by roughly 26%, a risk comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Another major report from the U.S. Surgeon General described loneliness as a public health crisis, especially among older adults. So how can something invisible be so dangerous? Because humans are biologically wired for connection. Our nervous system, immune system, and hormonal systems evolved around social bonds. When those bonds weaken, the body interprets it as a threat. Loneliness activates the stress response. When someone feels chronically alone, the brain releases stress hormones like cortisol. Over time, elevated cortisol damages blood vessels, increases inflammation, disrupts sleep, and impairs immune function. This isn't emotional weakness. It's biology. I've seen this play out in real life countless times. I've cared for seniors who lived alone, followed all medical advice, ate reasonably well, and still declined faster than expected. They didn't complain of loneliness. They often said, "I'm fine. I don't want to bother anyone." But their bodies told a different story. They had more infections, slower recovery, worsening memory, poor appetite, fatigue that no medication seemed to fix. Loneliness quietly weakens the body's defenses. It also affects the brain. Social interaction stimulates memory, attention, language, and emotional regulation. When those interactions fade, the brain receives less stimulation. Over time, cognitive reserve shrinks. Studies show that socially isolated older adults have a significantly higher risk of developing dementia, independent of other risk factors. In other words, loneliness doesn't just accompany cognitive decline. It can accelerate it. And yet, loneliness is often misunderstood. Many people think loneliness means being physically alone. But you can be surrounded by people and still feel lonely. Loneliness is the gap between the connection you have and the connection you need. After 65, life changes rapidly. Retirement removes daily structure and purpose. Friends move away or pass on. Children become busy. Mobility decreases. Hearing loss makes conversation harder. Small barriers slowly turn into walls, and many seniors adapt by shrinking their world. They stop going out. They stop calling. They stop asking for help. Not because they don't want connection, but because they don't want to feel like a burden. That belief, I don't want to bother anyone, may be one of the most dangerous thoughts in aging, because isolation feeds on silence. Another important piece of the science involves inflammation. Chronic loneliness has been shown to increase inflammatory markers in the body. Inflammation is now recognized as a major driver of heart disease, arthritis, diabetes, depression, and neurodegenerative conditions. When the body remains in a low-grade inflammatory state for years, tissues age faster. This is why loneliness doesn't just affect mood, it affects longevity. I want to be very clear about something. This is not about personality. Introverted people are not doomed. Enjoying solitude does not harm you. What harms you is feeling emotionally disconnected over long periods of time. I've seen patients who lived quietly but had one meaningful relationship thrive. And I've seen patients in busy households feel profoundly alone. Quality matters more than quantity. Another overlooked aspect is how loneliness changes behavior. Lonely individuals are less likely to stay physically active, less likely to eat well, less likely to take medications correctly, less likely to seek medical care early. Not because they don't care, but because motivation erodes without connection. There's a reason recovery is faster when someone has support. There's a reason people live longer when they feel needed. Purpose and belonging are protective. One of the most striking things I've observed in my career is what happens when lonely seniors reconnect. Blood pressure improves, sleep deepens, appetite returns, energy rises. Medications that once seemed necessary become less effective, not because the body is failing, but because the root problem is finally addressed. Loneliness is not cured by a pill, but it is treatable. And no, the solution is not simply, go make friends. That advice is unrealistic and dismissive. Connection after 65 looks different. It may mean one regular phone call, one weekly activity, one volunteer role, one neighbor, one grandchild who feels safe calling you. The nervous system doesn't require a crowd. It requires consistency. This is why community-based programs, senior centers, faith communities, and intergenerational activities have such powerful health effects. They restore rhythm, identity, and belonging. In recent years, we've also seen research showing that even perceived support, knowing someone would help if needed, significantly improves health outcomes. You don't need to be surrounded. You need to feel anchored. Unfortunately, modern society often unintentionally isolates older adults. Everything moves faster. Technology replaces conversation. Independence is glorified to the point where asking for help feels like failure. But aging is not meant to be done alone. Historically, elders were integrated into daily life. They were advisors, caregivers, storytellers, anchors. Today, many feel invisible. And invisibility is corrosive. If you're watching this and thinking, "This sounds like me," I want you to hear something clearly. Loneliness is not a personal failure. It is a societal issue and a medical one. You are not weak for feeling it, and you are not alone in experiencing it. The most important step is recognizing it, not dismissing it. Talk to your doctor about it. Mention it even if it feels uncomfortable. A good clinician will listen. And if you're caring for an older adult, understand this. Checking vitals is not enough. Ask about connection. Ask who they talk to. Ask what they look forward to. Because health after 65 is not just about avoiding disease. It's about staying connected to life. If there's one thing I want you to take away today, it's this. Protecting your social health is just as important as protecting your heart. Loneliness shortens lives. Connection extends them. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this message resonated, I invite you to subscribe to the channel using the link below so you don't miss future conversations like this. And if you feel comfortable, share in the comments. What helps you feel most connected right now? Until next time, take care of your body and your bonds.
Join us on Healthcare Seniors.
Be part of our community and watch the next video.